Hi, welcome to Commanders Daily, everybody. I'm Bob Matthews. It's your one-stop shop for everything going on with the Burgundy and Gold. Don't forget, hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss a day of coverage. Guys had the day off on Wednesday. They're back on the practice field on Thursday. We have already gone through everything that happened in the scrimmage, the Burgundy and Gold scrimmage. First team defense looked good. First team offense, not so much. We do know, and we've got some data points now to suggest this wide receiver room has become a little problematic. Now, granted, it's missing its top two wide receivers. One of those you can't do anything about, Noah Brown. He's nicked up. He's hurt. You hope that they can get him ready for the regular season. Terry McLaurin is holding in. That's the one you hope they can come to an agreement here on a new contract and get him into camp. And for something that insiders have been, me included, have been saying for so long, it's going to get done, just wait. And it still may very well get done. We're starting to get a little bit of a compressed timetable here. Obviously, Terry's not, even if he signed as I'm recording this, he's not playing against Cincinnati. He certainly wouldn't play in the third preseason game because no starters do. So the ship has sailed on any kind of preseason action in a live game. If they can get it done in the next, say, 5 or 6 days, then he could conceivably be on the field for the joint practice with the Ravens. But that's going to come up really, really quick. I think it's either next Wednesday or next Thursday. So if Terry's not signed, really, I said 5 or 6 days, really more like 4. If he's not signed by Sunday, I don't think you're going to see Terry McLaurin on the field at all in any way, shape, or form during the preseason. And that's not good because then that opens him up to get nicked up because he's not in football shape. He's in great shape, just not football shape. It's like Brian Mitchell always says, you got to practice football in order to play football. So let's hope that they get it done here sometime in the next few days. And by the way, I'm going to have more on Terry, some of the numbers of him here in a couple of minutes. We are getting the last of the lists, thank God. Content generation season is almost over. The Athletic putting out its annual quarterback rankings, and you can either get it in the Athletic or in the New York Times. And Jaden Daniels has been rated he was ranked number 6, just barely outside of Tier 1, and he set a rookie record. I'm shocked. Who would have guessed that Jaden Daniels would have been ranked 6th? Mike Sando, and he knows his stuff, is the one that put the list together. The only thing about Daniels that I really could argue with is saying that his, and let me give you the rankings. So, and it's probably what you think. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow tie for 1, Josh Allen 3, Lamar 4, Matthew Stafford 5. I think I would have ranked Jaden ahead of Stafford. I've never thought of Stafford as being the 5th best quarterback in the league. But hey, that's the things that Sando, the critiques that Sando has on Jaden. The one that I had to disagree with him on, and I'm sure that's going to keep him up at night, is the fact that he said that Jaden was a little inconsistent at times last year. I don't think that's a fair critique of him. You can, there are things you can critique about him, but inconsistency wasn't one of them. And my retort would be twofold. Number one, even in the games that they lost, even with the 3-game losing streak there in the middle of the season, you could never point to any one of those games and say that Jaden Daniels was the reason they lost, that he was the most ineffective player on the field, and that was why. And it wasn't. I mean, it never, ever was that the case. So, as far as I'm concerned, I don't see how you could say that he was inconsistent in any way, shape, or form. But hey, considering the fact, again, he was a rookie last year and he's looking like he is going to be that guy. And again, I know that Sando, when he's doing these lists, especially, the top 5 or 6 guys, you're splitting hairs when you're talking about quote unquote shortcomings in their games. So, but for what it's worth, that's why I thought that it wasn't, if that was going to be your argument that he was somewhat inconsistent at times, I'm not sure I can go with that. Also, hey, Jaden got his team to the NFC Championship game. He, Matthew Stafford didn't. So, but that's just me, and Sando knows a lot more than I do. Some of the numbers for Terry, it was interesting. If you're wondering, why they can't seem to come to a deal on this, really good story on ESPN.com that I think it was Schefter that wrote it. Was it Schefter? No, it was Keim. John. I'm sorry, John Keim, the Commanders beat writer for ESPN. Who has been, he's the dean of the press corps up there. He's been there since the mid-90s, and he broke it down into, why this doesn't, why this hasn't happened yet. But some of the interesting numbers that John had in there is, he was talking about, okay, so where do things stand now, and what are McLaurin's options? And his, if he wants to avoid the risk, he takes a deal that's on the table now, somewhere between $50 and $60 million in guaranteed money. The average would the AAV on the guaranteed would be about $28 million, or he bets on himself for a bigger payday after the season. Now, the good thing about that is what you're assuming is that he's coming into camp sometime next week. If you wonder, okay, why haven't they just, why not just do it? Just pay him for time served, give him call it a bonus, whatever you want, why not? After all, that's the way the previous owner would have done business. But you got to remember, and John does a very good job of pointing this out, in the next 2 years, the Commanders have a lot of guys that they have to re-sign. And I'm not just talking about their potential free agents. They've got, and I'm looking for the exact number, but when you look at the players they have under contract for the next 2 years, there are only a couple of teams that have fewer players at this point signed after 2025. So that's an issue for Adam Peters and the salary cap guys. Not to mention the fact that of those guys that are unsigned after next year or the year after that, they've got some big decisions to make. Laramie Tunstall, they gave up draft assets for him. Do they want to re-sign him? You would think they would. Deebo Samuel, they gave up draft assets for him. Do they want to re-sign him? You got to think, especially if he has a good year, they would. Frankie Louvu, big home run in free agency and is just entering the prime of his career. He's going to be up for a deal in the next 2 years. You'd think they'd want to re-sign him. Absolutely. And who am I forgetting? I am forgetting one of them. I apologize. Marshawn Lattimore. What if Marshawn Lattimore has a bounce-back year? Do you re-sign him? That's in the conversation, too. If you had to pick two, I would say Tunstall and Louvu are the guys that you don't re-sign. But, boy, if the other two ball out, how do you make a case for letting them go? And are you going to need some of that money that Terry is asking for in order to keep those guys in the building? It's just one of those things that, as the GM, Peters and his salary cap guys have to work through. Of course, that being said, what do we know about the salary cap? It's not really a salary cap because there are plenty of ways to kick the can down the road. And, of course, even with the fact that they're going to have to pay Jaden probably $70 million a year when they've got to redo his deal in 2 or 3 more years. So again, that's why we're at where we're at right now. Finally, let's go ahead and end it with a little bit of viewer mail. We love it when you guys drop a comment. If you would like to drop one on this episode, please feel free. Jay Hardy, 7617. Jay, thank you very much. Asked how Von Miller did in the joint practices, the ones with the Patriots. Jay Hardy, he did fine. He did absolutely fine. he hadn't lost his twitch. He is still really, really fast. That get off is still really fast. And he looked good against the Patriots. I expect him to look good this season. Remember, they're going to use him strategically. They're not going to have him out there every down. He's going to be a pass rusher. And again, that first step, still ultra quick. He looked good, and I think he is going to be all right. That's going to do it for us. Don't forget, hit the like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment as well. Guys are back on the field later today. We will talk about it all tomorrow. Remember, like the wise man once said, if you're out on your bike tonight, as always, do wear white.